My 1997 Saab 900 Turbo has a pretty bad oil leak coming from the valve cover. So in today's video we are going to be replacing that gasket as well as doing a little bit of a surprise to refinish this to make it look a little bit better. Let's get started. Valve cover removal on these cars shouldn't be too difficult. We need to take out our DI cassette right here, which is 4 Torx bolts and 1 plug. There's also a line that runs from the valve cover down to the bottom of the engine and turbo area. So we need to unbolt that as well. And then there's a couple bolts for our oil dipstick that hold that to the valve cover. And after that, we should be just about good to undo all these Torx bits and pull this thing off, hopefully without too much of an issue. Start with the DI cassette. And on the back side here, there's a plug to disconnect. And that comes out. Good news is I can tell you it's not leaking from the inside here. It actually looks like it's probably been replaced at some point because I do see some like remnants of gasket maker in there. You can see it right here. So maybe this has been replaced before. I mean, the valve cover's definitely been painted at some point, so it probably has been replaced, but I don't see any oil in the spark plug wells or down in this whole area, so that's a good sign at least. And this line should just kind of, it's plastic, so we're going to be gentle, but there we go, that'll pop out. Now our oil dipstick. So there are, I think, 16 total bolts that hold this valve cover in, so let's just start zapping them off. I'm going to break them all loose by hand just to be safe. These are pretty tight on here, they might have been over torqued. Sometimes with these you can just kind of grab on it and shake it and it'll pop loose. Mine, I wasn't able to do that, so I grabbed one of these plastic little pry tools that you can get at Harbor Freight, and there's a little lip under here. I just kind of stuck up and just pushed up around this lip, and you can see it's now coming loose. Now I can get my fingers under there. Moment of truth, also see what it looks like under here. If you missed my oil pan video, we found some fun surprises in that video that you can check out in the top corner. But under here, this looks pretty good for 210,000 miles. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So our next steps now are to do a deep clean, of course, of both this surface here as well as the surface on the inside of the valve cover. While I get all of this cleaned up, you can use something like a Scotch-Brite, a razor blade if there's a lot of old gasket on there, paper towels, etc., to clean this surface off both on here and the valve cover side. But while I do that, we have to have a word from the sponsor of today's video. Before we get back to work on the other car, today's video has been sponsored by Mongol. It's pretty well understood that having a dash cam is a very important feature of your car. I'm usually a proponent of it, but one problem is I don't really like to install them in my car because one, they look pretty ugly, and two, they sometimes require you tapping into different fuses or kind of doing a little bit of a hack job wiring to make them work properly. But Mongol has found an amazing solution to that. So this is their dash cam. Now, they offer these dash cams specifically for different models of cars. So they unfortunately do not have anything for Saabs just due to their age and their, rarity. But if you have any other car, so for example, my 2017 S3 here, they make these dash cams to essentially fit perfectly into the stock location. So the way we're going to install this is pop this off, and then this actually plugs straight in to the existing wiring that's up there. There's a little adapter, and then that's it, you're done. So this should take us almost no time to install. And they also have an option for a rear dash cam, which we'll be installing as well. Pop that cover off. Got our mess of wiring here, but everything is plugged in as it should be. Now we just kind of need to start finding spots to hide the wiring. There we go, that is a tight fit, but it's in there. There's a very specific way you have to mount the wiring. Label for the rear camera, so we can put that to the side for now. Before I clip this in, we need to route this all to the back of the car to hook up the rear camera. They give you a nice little kind of trim tool The way you do this cleanest is just to run it along the headliner and kind of find gaps in the trim all around the car, front to back, until you finally reach the back. So I'm gonna do that now. All right, battery has been reconnected. Car, as you can see, is running. And see, just look at how clean this installation is. You would have no idea that the car has a dash cam unless you actually looked up in here. Because look at that. That is just so well integrated. You guys also know that when I do my modifications to my cars, I like to be able to reverse them. So the fact that this is all just plug and play is fantastic. Here's a shot of the rear camera. Let's take a look at the quality of these cameras. They are 4K, which is fantastic. Essentially, the way that you connect and view these cameras is by downloading the app, and it Bluetooths to your phone, and you can view and download the footage. One indicator I like to use when seeing if a dash cam is good or not is, can you read license plate? So here you can see it's very easy to read the license plate of the car in front of me. It's just very crisp and clear both day and night. In fact, here's kind of a cool shot of lightning I got during a storm I was driving in. But both front and rear, fantastic quality, very easy to install, and of course, plug and play. So if you're interested in looking at a dash cam for your car, for your non-Saab, check out the link in the description. Thank you to Mongol for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to this valve cover. While you all were listening to that ad, I've actually spent the last 2 days doing this right here. I didn't think this would take this long, but I essentially stripped off all of the old paint on the valve cover, mainly because there were a few pieces where it was peeling off, as you saw, and now we are ready to repaint it with some black wrinkle paint. Now, this is the exact same paint I used on my 9.3 valve cover. You can check out that video in the top corner. 10 out of 10, super happy with the results, so I'm hoping we can get a similarly great result here. But this was extremely time consuming. Essentially used some paint stripper and then used some pretty aggressive discs to get most of the paint off, and then used some 180 grit sandpaper to start to smooth it out, followed by a red and black Scotch-Brite pad. The red Scotch-Brite was about 320 grit, and the black one was about 800 grit. So we should be pretty good to go. The way you apply this wrinkle paint, if you're not familiar with it, is you do it in 3 heavy coats. So the way this paint works is it's not like normal spray paint. After it dries, it creates sort of a wrinkle effect, as you'll see, which is really cool looking. So the way that we do it is you do 3 coats, 3 heavy coats. You do 1 coat vertically, so we're gonna go like this. The next coat's gonna be horizontally, so we'll go like this. It's gonna be really hard to get down into these crevices, but we're gonna do the best we can. And then the 3rd coat's gonna go diagonally. So let's see how this turns out. And we're gonna have to wait a couple days for this to dry and cure, but let's get to it. So we'll give that 5 minutes to dry, and then we're going to do our next coat. 2 days has passed. Before we reinstall this, last little thing we need to do is I want to sand down the raised lettering here to get the brushed bare finish like you had on the OEM cover, just to help give some contrast. I think it looks way better than having it all black like this was previously, but you can see this wrinkle turned out pretty good. It doesn't have a super aggressive wrinkle to it, but like, maybe it doesn't come up on camera super well, but it definitely has like a pretty solid wrinkle. It just kind of gives it a more unique look and texture. So I'm gonna get a sanding block and just very gently sand this off, and then we can go ahead and get this reinstalled in the car. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. Now, one thing I realized is if you're doing this job, I use too aggressive of a sanding disc to get the old paint off. You can see as a result, there's just a couple little imperfections. I did what I could to get them out, but I'd say that's pretty good. This wrinkle just turned out so good, such a unique look. I'm gonna stop staring at this. We need to flip this over, get our new gasket on, and coincidentally my hood struts went out at the same time, so that's fun. Somehow in the middle of this job, they just stopped working. I'm gonna wipe down everything here one more time. Last point worth mentioning here is that when you tighten these valve covers, we're gonna be tightening it down to 11 foot-pounds. There's a very specific pattern in which you need to torque them down. So you can see they're all numbered here. So I printed this out from Wist just to put it here for reference. as I'm doing this job. In a recent video, y'all might remember that we dropped the oil pan and we found some timing chain guide bits in there, and well, we were obviously a bit concerned. So what I did is I took my camera and kind of stuck it down in there. I couldn't find any indication that there were a broken timing guide or anything, so I don't know if maybe it was broken in the past and then just replaced and they never dropped the pump, but like, even if you look at the chain here, there's a lot of tension on the chain. It doesn't slap around at all or make any noise. So I think it's going to be good to keep running as is, but being able to check this from up top here really gave me a lot of confidence in that. I totally forgot to do this, but typically it's best if you pull the gasket out of the bag before you want to install it, so that way it can kind of form itself to the shape it needs to be. Because I have a few that the little holes want to flip around the other way. So what I've kind of devised to make work, seems to be working so far, is I put these four are the ones that want to flip around. So I put them the right way, stuck a bolt through the bottom, so that way when I flip it over and line it up, it'll be, you know, lined up as it needs to be. So hopefully that works. If that does not work for you, the other method you can do is dental floss. So you can kind of run and tie like a couple things of dental floss around here. And then once it's installed, you can cut the dental floss, pull it out, and then tighten everything down. Yep, so that's not going to work. I need to get some dental floss. The gasket's just falling out as soon as I flip it over to put it in. Well, this took me way longer than I would like to admit. But this dental floss was very tricky to get it to work, but it is an ingenious idea. Right now I'm just kind of getting all the bolts started, not tightening any of them down. I went along or around with my endoscope and just kind of made sure all of the gasket was lined up as it needed to be. These little like half moon things that are here and here, and also back in this corner, you need to make sure those are set correctly. Let's torque all these down in the order per whiz. Camera overheated. It's still 110 degrees out and it's 10 o'clock at night. So great day to do this with a high of 121. But we got all these torqued down, double checked them all while the camera was cooling off in the freezer. So we just need to do this, which I've already done. Put on our little bracket for the dipstick here, and then put on our DI cassette. Super easy. Let's finish it up. Car sounds great. I'm just going to let it run for a while, make sure to check there's no leaks. It's looking good so far. Issues I'm usually concerned about is like these spots right here, just wherever, you know, those oddball spots are on the gasket. So I'm going to watch this for a few minutes, let the car run, but I am really happy with how this wrinkle black turned out. Let me know your thoughts below. Do you think it was an upgrade over the flat black, especially with the peeling paint and the non-sanded Saab in 2.0. But hopefully this video was informative to some of you. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. We got lots more coming on this car in the near future. And I'll see you in the next one.